My name is Evelyn Acham. I'm a climate activist from Kampala, Uganda, and I've been in Europe for almost a month now, and today I'm in Berlin in front of the parliament, and we, ahead of the G7 climate summit, we are here to demand for climate justice for the people from the most affected communities and areas.
And I'm Darya. Sotoodeh. I'm a climate activist in Germany from Fridays for Future, and we're here to protest together with the Rise Up movement in front of the parliament and demand a proper climate justice policy. We had the Paris Climate Agreement and the 1.5 degree limit, and Germany and many other countries signed the contract and said that they will do everything to reduce the damage that is caused by the climate crisis. And we demand that those governments, and now especially German one, just follows their own obligation. And
yeah, and again we are doing it today in Germany because it's among the countries that are responsible for the highest emissions in the world. My continent, Africa, is only responsible for less than 4% of global CO2 emissions. So all the countries that are responsible must pay the climate debt. They must pay for all the losses and damages. They must provide us with justice because we are not responsible for this crisis. And it's so sad that as people are demanding for justice, as people are calling out for leaders to act, they continue to make empty promises at all these summits. We have the G7 summit that is happening in a few days, and we are tired of having such summits and not seeing any action being taken because the climate crisis is so bad for some of us. I come from a country that has one of the fastest changing climate in the world. Devastating floods in western Uganda has destroyed homes, schools, and displaced thousands of people. Prolonged drought in northern and eastern Uganda has dried up food and water sources and is threatening food security and worsening the challenges communities like mine are already experiencing, like discrimination. The climate crisis is not only affecting my country, but communities in Africa. The East Africa drought affected the entire East African region, causing severe food crisis across Somalia, Ethiopia, and Kenya, threatening livelihoods of millions of people. My community cannot adapt or cannot mitigate the climate crisis without climate finance because they do not have the capacity, and the leaders from the rich nations pledged years back to provide climate finance to communities like mine in adaptation and mitigation. So we are demanding for this climate finance. We are demanding the German government that is hosting the G7 climate summit to show us the money that they promised years back, show us the money to help us in adaptation and mitigation. We are demanding you to provide a loss and damage facility.
We are demanding for the global north to cancel the debt of impoverished nations, and this way they can pay for leaving fossil fuels in the ground and financing a just transition. We already heard before who is responsible for this climate crisis we are in now. 100 multinationals are responsible for 71% of industrial greenhouse emissions. With the financial debt to the IMF and World Bank, the Global South countries are forced to pay their debts back by overexploiting and bartering away their natural resources. And this way worsening the climate, ecological and social crisis. And who consumes those resources? The financial debt is suffocating the countries in the Global South and preventing them to allocate funds for adaptation to extreme weather events. Debt for Climate is looking for alternatives that allow impoverished countries to get out of the debt trap imposed on countries by the IMF and the World Bank. To cancel the debt is a simple realistic way for high-emitting rich countries to prove that they are serious about tackling the root problems of the climate crisis and the Paris Agreement. They can turn debt into climate action.
This is something that is going to work for the people from the most affected community, because to me it's a form of reparation, it's a form of compensation for the disaster that the rich countries have caused. So we are demanding the debts to be removed. In my country, Uganda, we have the East African crude oil pipeline that will be running from my country through Tanzania. But we all know that the profits are not going to benefit my country. The profits are benefiting the country that have already caused the climate crisis. My country does not need any new fossil fuels. We demand renewable energy in my country. We demand climate justice.
Hi everyone, I'm Sulti. I am from the refugee movement as a refugee in Germany and a part of the BIPOC for Future. I am reading out a speech from Castroya from the Black Earth Collective. So I'm not in the Black Earth Collective, but we are fighting all together. Lützerath is another village in the Rhineland that is not to be destroyed for the profit, that is gonna be destroyed for the profit of a major international corruption called RWE, with the support of the North Rhine-Westphalia state government. Another 900 million tons of brown coal are to be excavated. This would massively fuel the climate catastrophe. Today, more urgently than ever, we need to move away from fossil fuels, gas, oil, coal, and so on. The last decade, or rather centuries, we could observe that state institutions do not manage to solve the many crises in our society in a sustainable way. We cannot longer trust the state government of North Rhine-Westphalia or the federal government or the courts. Connecting self-organization and struggles, these are some of our tools to fight the patriarchal, capitalist, and last but not least, racist system. We need the opportunity to live in peace, however and wherever we want. We are BIPOC for Future, we are Global South, we are the revolution, we are resistant. Thank you.
There are some things that people cannot adapt to, like losing their homes and heritage. So it's not fair to evict the people from the Lützerath village. It's not fair at all, and the government needs to stop this. You need to stop mining this coal, and you need to leave the people in their homes that they have taken care of, because we all know that the indigenous people, the indigenous communities are responsible for protecting a very big percentage of our ecosystem. So it is very important that we let the people stay in their heritage, in their homes that they have preserved for years. We cannot adapt to lost cultures. We cannot adapt to lost heritages.
This happens quite often in Germany, that like villages were evicted, people had to leave, and even though many activists tried to stop that, they were just they were ignored. And even also in Lützerath, there are so many people like you taking care of the place, fighting for climate justice, against coal mining, and this has been going on for such a long time. And I just really think the government should, also the regional government, should just listen to you guys as well as to us.
Listen to the people from most affected communities and areas, because they are the people that are being hit most. Put an end in fossil fuels. and stop hurting people, stop killing people, because your actions are killing people, your actions are hurting people, your actions are destroying our home and our planet, and we cannot allow this. We will keep speaking up until we see action.
The G7 countries are responsible for over 50% of historic emissions. So this means that we know who caused the climate crisis. For years, these countries have refused to acknowledge any responsibility to pay for it. It is time for G7 leaders to show us something real, something more than words. We are tired of empty promises. We need G7 countries to put money on the table for loss and damage at this summit. At COP26, 6 of the G7 countries, including Germany, signed up to end overseas public fossil fuel financing. Last month, Japan came on board as well. And yet right now, Chancellor Scholz is offering German investment for gas infrastructure in Senegal. This would be a misguided and selfish decision. Investment in fossil fuels is not what people in Africa need. Decades of fossil fuel development in Africa have failed to bring widespread prosperity or to reduce energy poverty. In fact, fossil fuel extraction in African countries has led to human rights abuses, violence, and worsening poverty in some communities. Instead, Africa and Europe both need massive investment in renewable energy. Renewable energy is cheaper, more reliable, and cleaner than the so-called natural gas. Why are we still not seeing the investments we need in it? While Africa possesses 39% of the world's potential for renewable energy, it receives just 2% of global investment in renewables. The response to war cannot be to forget the millions of people already suffering from the impacts of the climate crisis.
We are right now in Germany, and I don't know if I have to speak this on camera, but we don't see the support from the European activists. We need to work together. You need to support us. You need to amplify our voices, because we need each other in this fight. So just amplify voices of people from most affected communities. If we do not work together, we will keep speaking, but we will not see the justice. So we need to work together. We need to amplify each other's stories, because climate justice is a social justice issue. It's a racial justice issue. It's an environmental justice issue. It's a system where we need to solve everything to achieve climate justice.
I think it's just in general really good to stay in touch with activists from other countries, especially from MAPA. And what I've learned since I've only been working in Germany is that we have a lot of privileges. And we have the chance to talk directly to the people who are responsible, mainly responsible for the climate crisis, for example, the German government. And especially many activists here have the privilege to protest without really being endangered, especially if you're a white person, if you're wealthy. And we should be aware of that, and we should listen to those who have been fighting this crisis for such a long time and who are fighting for their existence right now.
For me, what keeps me optimistic is seeing new voices rising up every day to speak up, and knowing that you're not alone speaking up. So with time, I have seen so many people joining the movement and standing with us and standing in solidarity with us, and it is becoming so, climate change is becoming something that once in a while media is talking about. Before, they were not talking about it at all. So this keeps me optimistic that voices are rising up, people are taking interest in this topic, and so many people are understanding the reason why floods are happening, the reason why droughts are happening, and I have seen people join the fight. So this is hopeful, because the power is in the people, and not the governments.
The people united can never be defeated.
The people united can never be defeated.
We are unstoppable. Another world is possible.
We are unstoppable. Another world is possible.
Thank you so much.
Woo!